Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now here's what we've got for you today.
What's the address of the incident?
Hi, it's Shirley Towers. Got a fire on the 9th
Sorry,
floor?
Shirley Towers?
Shirley Towers.
Okay, on the 9th floor. What flat number, please?
72.
Okay, flat 72, and what's on fire?
Before the evening was over, two firefighters, Bannon and James Shears, had lost their lives.
People have been forced to leave their homes in the last 2 hours after a fire broke out in a block of flats in Hampshire. Crews were called to Shirley Towers on Church Street shortly after 8 o'clock this evening.
The fire broke out on the 7th floor. It's not yet been confirmed what caused it, but police say it's not being treated as suspicious at this time. It was out just before 1 o'clock this morning.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together.
Today is a tragic day for Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service. It is with deep sadness that I announce the death of 2 Hampshire firefighters. At this time, I can now confirm the names of those 2 firefighters who have sadly lost their lives whilst attending a devastating fire in Southampton. Firefighter James Shears, aged 35, and firefighter Bannon, aged 38, tragically lost their lives whilst tackling the fire at a block of flats. Both were whole-time firefighters and members of Red Watch at St Mary's Fire Station in Southampton.
In other news, this episode is brought to you in partnership with MSA Safety. Today we have them to thank for the improved firefighter safety through connectivity in their brand new connected firefighter system. At the centre of the connected firefighter platform is the MSA M1 SCBA with telemetry. You can view battery life, air pressure and estimated time remaining either independently on the M1 itself or from the Luna connected device screen. Also, still with the air status, alarm information, search status and all of this provided to the incident command for confident decision making during the scene. That integrates straight in with the Luna system, which is a wireless all-in-one device creating an independent search and rescue network, providing edge detection, enhanced personal thermal imaging, while simplifying post-scene reporting and data retention. One of the key parts of the Luna is their FAST system, the Firefighting Assisting Search Technology. This combines directional and distance information with thermal imaging to help find separated teammates and decrease response time. It actually connects you to the other crews in the vicinity for a unified search during the time of mutual aid by instantly notifying the network of Luna devices when there is a downed crew member, allowing for a prompt search and rescue. All of this then plugs into the FireGrid system for cloud-based connectivity, real-time information and data-driven decisions for the incident commander. It enables you to see the exact location of your firefighters on the scene. And it doesn't require you to be sat on the station. The MSA Hub then provides a wireless gateway straight to the cloud, enabling wireless on-scene data for local and remote incident command for additional eyes on the scene. MSA are truly taking massive strides in the future of improved firefighter safety through connectivity. MSA is dedicated to increasing safety in the fire service through technological advancements. Various feature enhancements, new products, partnerships and integrations will provide additional capabilities readily accessible by products, software and services in the brand new MSA Connected Firefighter platform. Now back to the show. Today on the podcast, we're going to be covering an incident debrief into Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service's investigation into the deaths of firefighters Bannon and James Shears in flat 72 Shirley Towers, Church Street, Southampton on Tuesday the 6th of April 2010. The facts of the report, and particularly the actions of Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service staff, are framed by that duty to save life. And on that fatal night on the 6th of April 2010, many lives of the public were at risk in Shirley Towers, as a 16-storey high-rise block of residential flats faced an incredible scene as fire crews that night worked frantically in frightening situations, to the extent that the efforts to tackle this difficult and dangerous fire required the courage, stamina and skill of all involved. Once again, we're going to be covering a few aspects from a few different documentations to give us a full and well-rounded perspective of this incident. Firstly, we're going to cover a little bit around the incident's location. Now, Shirley Towers is situated in Church Street, Shirley, Southampton, and it is a 16-storey high-rise residential block constructed in 1967. Something specific about these types of building: the individual residences cover 3 floors, and they're technically best described as maisonettes. However, they are marked as flats, and the residents refer to them as flats. As such, it has 150 flats with an occupancy of between 350 and 400 people. With regard to water supplies, now water supplies for this exact incident were obtained from a hydrant situated on Church Street adjacent to the front entrance to Shirley Towers. They used a twin line approach of 70mm hose, which were put into the dry riser inlet, which we're going to go through in the incident. Now, the dry risers themselves in Shirley Towers have outlets on alternate floors, for example 5th, 7th and 9th floors. We do cover some aspects around cabling and entrapment on this, so it's worth noting that Shirley Towers was electrically rewired. Between 1995 and 1996, the replacement wiring was routed along the walls of the common areas and within the individual flats via external plastic trunking. The fire originated in the lounge of flat 72, which we're going to go through. Now, as with all incident debriefs, we are going to go through a step-by-step of the events on that day. However, before we do so, we are going to go through the layout of flat 72 itself, as the complexity in the layout of these flats is a big contributor to the situations that unfolded on that day. Now, the design of Shirley Towers is unusual for those not familiar with the layout. The layout of the flats is best described as a scissor design, with individual flats situated across 3 floors. Entrances to adjacent flats lead either upwards or downwards from the front door. An up flat has an emergency exit 2 floors above the entrance, and the emergency exit door is on the opposite side of the corridor to the entrance. Now, flat 72 is an up flat and has its entrance on the 9th floor with an emergency exit on the 11th floor, whereas a down flat obviously will be accessed from the 9th floor and will have its emergency exit below on the 7th floor. Flat numbering has no obvious relation to the floor number, so you can see how things get very complicated very quickly. So thinking about the layout of flat 72, just to break it down for you, we would enter from the 9th floor, immediately going up a short set of stairs into the living area itself. You'll also find the kitchen in that area as well, but you turn a sharp 180 degrees, go up another short set of stairs, effectively putting you on the 10th floor, but with no door out onto the 10th floor, before you go up another short set of stairs, bringing you to the 11th floor, where there is that emergency exit to get out of the flat, and there's also the living quarters, the bedroom, and so on. So having given some background on the incident, the location, and the building layout, we're now going to go into the step-by-step timed event occurrence of the incident itself as it unfolded. Today's podcast is powered by our partner Lifelines and their revolutionary approach to functional hydration. Just like in firefighting, water is essential for body function, but studies show more than 80% of firefighters are dehydrated. A 25-year study findings from the National Institute of Health showed poor hydration to be linked to early aging and chronic disease, and even mild dehydration results in significant negative impact outcomes including headaches, exhaustion, rapid pulse, irritability, and poor cognitive function. A study conducted by Yale University showed that participants who were just 1% dehydrated had a 12% increase in errors when performing tasks that required cognitive flexibility. In addition, dehydration is shown to worsen mood and attitude, contribute to confusion and poor decision making, and negatively affect memory and judgment. In other words, you really don't want your incident commander, firefighter, or for that matter any first responder on a critical scene to be even slightly dehydrated. Mild dehydration occurs when a person is just 1.5% dehydrated, a condition that does not even trigger the thirst response in most people. So just imagine how quickly a firefighter or any first responder can and does become dehydrated in their day-to-day duties, which is why I address my hydration first thing every day with Lifelines. Go into the notes for this episode and specifically check out Lifelines Hydro Fuel and Hydro OG by clicking in the notes for the podcast for a clean energy solution designed for those who demand more from their day. Now back to the show. At 20:09 on the 6th of April 2010, Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service Fire Control received the first 999 call to Shirley Towers. The caller gave details of the incident, including the flat number, the floor, and that they could see flames in the front room. Receipt of this call was monitored by Fire Control, and they received 26 calls regarding the incident. At 2011, Fire Control mobilised a predetermined attendance of 5 fire appliances. 2 officers and an aerial platform were also mobilised. Details of the floor itself were not actually included in the mobilising turnout sheet which was sent to the appliances. It was also not related to the officers which were mobilised to the incident, and no mention was made of the 999 caller seeing flames in the lounge. At 2012, en route to the incident, one of the incident commanders in charge of an appliance checks for SSRI, which is site-specific risk information, on the MDT, mobile data terminal, on the cab of the plier appliance. It was found that there was no information. En route to the incident, another watch manager refers to a small plan of Shirley Towers that he carried on his person. He confirmed to the crews that this was an up flat, and as they approach via Church Street, the watch manager sees flames at the window of Shirley Towers, and he tells his crews that they have a going job. At 2014, a group manager books mobile to the incident via mobile telephone. He asks Fire Control if they have any update on the call. Fire Control respond that there's nothing up to date and no appliances have booked in attendance yet. At 2014, the first appliance, a water ladder from Redbridge with the watch manager in charge, books in attendance at the incident via the mobile telephone. On arrival, the watch manager walks around Shirley Towers and confirms an obvious fire and flames at the window. He instructs the driver to send a make-up message, requesting 6 fire appliances. He states that they have a fire believed to be on the 7th floor. As part of this message, the watch manager asks if there are any persons reported. Control respond that they have no reports of such. In a further conversation with Fire Control, the watch manager states he believes the fire to be on the 7th floor. On recollection, a comment in the incident debrief is that the fire was actually on the 9th floor. The flat number had been included in the turnout message, and there were a number of information sources available to the incident commander that would have assisted him in identifying the flat floor from the flat number provided. These include fixed signage in the lobby, as well as liaising with the flat warden themselves. These are points to note for incident commanders turning up to similar incidents in the future. At around 2015, Red Team 1 gathered the equipment required for a high-rise incident, plus a thermal imaging camera and a personal radio. At approximately 2017, the watch manager liaises with the warden and told him that the fire was on the 7th floor. Watch manager asked the warden to take him and the other crew members to 2 floors below the fire floor, assumably to set up a bridgehead. At 2017, a second appliance from St Mary's books in attendance. The crew manager contacts the watch manager by radio and instructs him to stay on the ground floor and manage the responding resources. At 2018, despite the watch manager requesting the warden to take them 2 floors below the fire, the warden takes them to the fire floor itself on the 9th floor. The watch manager thought he had taken them to the 7th floor. However, the watch manager and 2 firefighters and the warden exit the lift on the 9th floor. Due to this early confusion around the floors, throughout the incident, many personnel mistakenly believed the fire to be on the 7th floor and the bridgehead to be on the 5th. At 2018, the aero ladder platform from Redbridge booked mobile to Shirley Towers. At the same time, the third appliance from Totten books in attendance. At 2019, the watch manager and 2 firefighters descend the stairs to the 7th floor. At around the same time on the ground floor, the crew manager instructs a firefighter to commence an incident command log. At 2019, a second crew, Red Team 2, comprising of firefighter Bannon and Shears, are sent to the bridgehead. Note, the fire lift was unavailable, so Red Team 2 used the non-fire lift to gain access to the upper floors. At 2020, firefighters Bannon and Shears exit the lift on the 5th floor. At this time, watch manager at the bridgehead instructs his crew to start running hose from the 7th floor dry riser outlet to the lobby on the 9th floor via a dividing breaching. At approximately 2021, back on the 7th floor bridgehead, a firefighter is designated a BA Entry Control Officer and asks the watch manager where to set up. She is told to set up the BA Entry Control Point in the outer lift lobby of the 7th floor. A 4th appliance from St Mary's books in attendance. At the same time, the watch manager now requests a crew manager from the lobby to join him on the 5th floor. Note, there was some confusion about floor numbering once again, and it's probable that watch manager wanted the crew manager to join him at the bridgehead, which was actually situated on the 7th floor, not the 5th. At this time, firefighters assist running one length of 45mm hose from the 7th to the 9th floor and assists in setting into the dry riser. At 2022, Redbridge's aero ladder platform books in attendance. At 2023, the crew manager and firefighter leave the lift on the 5th floor carrying one length of 45mm hose each and meet another firefighter. This firefighter then asks them to connect the hose line to the dry riser on the 5th floor. This resulted in a second line of hose of 3 lengths being run from the 5th floor. This was, however, insufficient to gain full entry to flat 72. At 2026, the watch manager briefed 2 BA wearers to take their hose and enter the flat and fight the fire. Red Team 1, comprised of 2 firefighters, had instructions to take a firefighting jet with them. They also carried a radio and a thermal imaging camera. BA control was set up at this point, operating under Stage 1 procedures. At 2030, Red Team 1 complete a radio check and are committed into the incident through a BA entry control point. However, as the brief wasn't given in the presence of the BA entry control officer, as they then request detail around the brief, the entry control officer is told, "We are just going to flat 72. Note, It's vital that the BA Engine Control Officer has a comprehensive understanding of where and what each crew under their engine control is engaged upon. It is usually facilitated by the incident commander briefing the crew in the presence of the engine control officer. This was not done when Red Team 1 were committed to the incident. According to the engine control officer themselves, they received no brief with regard to search patterns from either the watch manager or the BA team leader. At the same time, having arrived at the bridgehead, the crew manager is briefed by the watch manager and takes over as sector commander at the bridgehead. Red Team 1 together with the watch manager now proceed to the 9th floor corridor. Red Team 2, including firefighter Bannon and Shears, don their BA masks and go under air. They have with them a thermal imaging camera and a radio. Once again, the BA engine control officer is not briefed by the watch manager on the action plan for the BA crews. As Red Team 2 enter the engine control point, the engine control officer asks them their brief and again is told, "We're going to back up Red 1. Red Team 1 have taken the first line of hose consisting of 3 lengths which is run from the 7th floor dry riser outlet. The watch manager, who had accompanied them to the 9th floor, instructs them not to enter the flat until Red Team 2 are with them. Red Team 1 tell the watch manager that they're going to conduct a right-hand search. At 20:32, one of the firefighters in Red Team 1 notices that the jet, which had run from the 5th floor, is too short to be fully taken into the flat. It could, however, be used as a covering jet. Prior to entering, one of the team looked through the letterbox to determine conditions and noted thick black smoke. At this time, Red Team 1 decided they would go on a right-hand search and shouted this again to the watch manager. The watch manager acknowledges it, however there's no evidence that this information was passed to the engine control officer. Arriving at the flat, Red Team 2, consisting of firefighters Bannon and Shears, are briefed by the watch manager to hose manage the first team, who were the firefighting team themselves, and to take their hose to the door of the flat. He also told them if they're required to enter the flat to continue hose managing, then they could take their hose with them and that this would be replaced with another jet. They then began their ascent up to the 9th floor. As Red Team 2 firefighters Bannon and Shears enter the 9th floor corridor, Red Team 1 enter flat 72. Red Team 1 entered the flat before Red Team 2 had reached them at the entrance. This meant that no communication took place between them, and that neither crew knew what the other crew's brief was. The watch manager then returns to the ground floor and exits the premises. At 20:34, prior to taking over the incident, the group manager receives a handover from the watch manager himself. At 20:34, the chief fire officer contacts fire control and requests an update. Fire control inform them that it's a mate pump 6, and incorrectly that the fire is on the 7th floor, and that they are not aware if there's any persons reported. At 20:34, back at the bridgehead, the crew manager states that he hears a message from one of the 2 teams committed requesting assistance with hose management. This came from Red Team 2, who were in the doorway of the flat and is requesting assistance with the hose. One of the firefighters follows the line back to the divider breaching and notes that there's no more hose available to pull through. Entering the flat, Red Team 1 pulse water into the cool gases. Red Team 1 enter the lounge area, known to be the location of the fire. One of the firefighters stated that the conditions were very good and it was not hot. Fire was not visible, so one of the firefighters switched his torch off to see if there was a glow from the fire, but there was no sign, just thick smoke. Firefighter 2 carried a thermal imaging camera, but did not use it whilst in the flat. Red Team 1 had chosen to undertake a right-hand search, and on entering the lounge, turned right and ascended the stairs to the bathroom landing. This change in level was again not reported to the BA engine control officer, and relates back to the complexity of the flat that we'd spoken about in the introduction. Moving through the flat, the crews are unknowingly changing floors. However, in his statement after the incident, Firefighter 2 says that he knew from experience and knowledge of Shirley Towers that by doing a right-hand search, they would go straight upstairs to the bathroom without going into the lounge or kitchen. The fire originated in the lounge near to the window and was not extinguished by the first crew before they ascended the stairs to the upper floors. Standard BA search procedures requires BA teams to check with the BA control prior to and informing them when they are changing levels. Red Team 1 chose not to adhere to this procedure. At 20:36, Red Team 2 of firefighters Bannon and Shears approached the affected flat, but on discovering that their hose line was not long enough to gain full entry, they left the jet outside the flat. They then followed their brief of hose managing for Red Team 1 and entered the flat, without any firefighting means themselves. At 20:37, Red Team 3 don their BA masks and go under air. They are then committed to the incident through the BA engine control officer. They're instructed by the crew manager on the bridgehead to undertake hose management for Red Teams 1 and 2. Shortly after, Red Team 1 carry out a gauge check on the bathroom landing, noting they have 136 and 139 bar respectively. Firefighter 2 then reports back to the BA engine control officer that they have around 130 bar remaining. At 20:38, having got to the top of the flat, Red Team 1 search bedrooms 1 and 2 and choose to open the windows in both bedrooms without any referral to the incident commander. In a statement after the incident, Firefighter 1 from Red Team 1 said that he believed the main lounge window had ventilated and so his actions of opening the window in the bedrooms 1 and 2 to let the smoke out and clear the room would improve visibility and would not exacerbate the fire situation. He acknowledges that service procedures require him to seek permission from the incident commander before carrying out ventilation, which is what he was doing, but chose not to do so on this occasion. At this juncture, Red Team 1 were at the highest point of the flat, having then proceeded up 3 sets of small stairs. Having searched both the bedrooms and still not located the fire, it's reasonable for them to suppose that therefore the fire must have been below them in the rooms that had not been searched, i.e. the lounge and the kitchen, where other crews were present. At 20:38, a group manager takes over as incident commander. Following a briefing from the watch manager and group manager, instructs for an assistance message to be sent, making pumps 10, and informing control that they're in incident mode Oscar. The watch manager is then tasked with setting up a ground floor sector command. At 20:39, the group manager contacts the crew manager on the bridgehead and confirms a change of role. He also informs him that his priority is to evacuate Shirley Towers before commencing firefighting. The crew manager on the bridgehead tells them that crews have already been committed, but they're also having a great deal of difficulty with communications. At the same time, a firefighter from Red Team 1 radios the engine control officer and states that they've searched the second bedroom and that they're going downstairs. The engine control officer feeds this back to the bridgehead crew manager, stating there's no sign of fire but heavy smoke logging. As Red Team 1 emerge from the bedroom, they meet Red Team 2, consisting of firefighters Bannon and Shears, on the bedroom landing. Both BA teams note a rapid and significant rise in temperature. They describe it as being a wet heat like steam. In one of his statements, a firefighter states that it felt as though the end of his gloves were burning away. At 20:40, the crew manager on the bridgehead overhears a radio message reporting excessive heat and says in his statement that he believes that it originated from Red Team 1. During the inquest, the crew manager stated that he is unsure how he heard this message, but it was either via the radio or by word of mouth. Red Team 1 and Red Team 3 state that neither of them sent the message, and the engine control officer says they did not hear the message. The crew manager instructs the engine control officer to instruct crews to withdraw and fight the fire from the doorway. At 20:40, the engine control officer loses radio communication with Red Team 1. She informs the crew manager bridgehead, who instructs her to keep trying to contact them. At 20:40, Red Team 1 instruct Red Team 2 firefighters Bannon and Shears to go back down the stairway, but firefighter Shears says it's too hot to descend. Red Team 1 then go downstairs to the bathroom, encountering falling cables as they proceed. Note, these were the first firefighters to be entangled in falling cables. These cables had been released from the surface-mounted plastic trunking, which had softened and melted as a result of the fire. At 20:41, Red Team 1 now enter the bathroom for shelter. At the same time, Red Team 4 don their BA masks and go under air. They are briefed by the crew manager on the bridgehead to enter the flat and follow Red Team 1's search pattern to locate Red Team 2, firefighters Bannon and Shears, to make sure that they're withdrawing. Note, the only information known about Red Team 1's location was from their earlier radio message that they'd gone on a right-hand search, and 2 subsequent radio messages that they'd moved upstairs and searched a second bedroom. Red Team 3 now arrive at Flat 72. They note that the door is open, and on entering the flat they see a developing fire. They decide to change their allocated task of hose management to one of firefighting by using the charged short line run out by the previous crew that was then left at the door by Red Team 2. This change of task was again not communicated to the engine control officer. This means that Red Team 3 did not charge their line of hose and instead used the line that they knew to be too short for a full entry into the flat. At the same time, Red Team 1 leave the bathroom and ascend the stairs to bedroom landing, looking for stairs leading upwards to the 11th floor escape door. They encounter more falling cables. At the bridgehead, the crew manager requests that the ground floor lobby send up more BA boards and additional BA crews. He also requests a 4th line of hose to be run out from the 9th floor. Note, BA entry control boards have 12 spaces for tallies to be inserted. 9 of these spaces are dedicated for committing crews, and the 3 remaining spaces on these particular boards are for deploying emergency teams. At this point in time, there are 4 two-person teams committed, which left only 1 space on the board. A normal minimum size for a BA team is always 2. At 20:43, as Red Team 3 search the lounge level, they see a line of hose going upstairs and to the right towards the bathroom. They pulse spray the fire in the lounge, and this was a deliberate decision so as not to produce steam which might endanger crews working above them. Note, despite these actions, Red Team 3 did not attempt to contact Red Teams 1 and 2 and inform them of the developing fire below them, or in fact to inform the engine control officer of the developing fire, and that crews were working above it. At the same time, a group manager was then sent to the bridgehead and told to take over sector command. At this time, the leading firefighter from Red Team 1 leaves Flat 72 via the fire escape door on the 11th floor However, upon exiting, he realises that his firefighter number 2 is not with him. Turning around towards the escape door, he sees firefighter 2's helmet through the escaping smoke. He is entangled in cables, preventing his final exit from the staircase. At this point, firefighter 2 states that he thought he was not going to get out and that he was going to die. Noting this, firefighter 1 assisted firefighter 2 to remove the cables and they both moved to the 11th floor corridor. Now out of the flat, Red Team 1 descend the stairs towards the bridgehead on the 7th floor. At this time, a group manager and station manager arrive on the 7th floor bridgehead and meet with the current bridgehead commander, crew manager. They receive an initial brief, and the group manager tells the crew manager that he intends to take command but wants to have a look at the situation first. The crew manager tells him that there's 3 teams committed. At this point, in fact, 4 teams have been committed, with Red Team 4 having been committed 3 minutes prior to the group manager arriving at the bridgehead. At the same time, Red Team 1 returned to the 7th floor in a distressed state, running along the corridor and removing their BA sets. In the confusion, Red Team 1 does not return to the BA entry control point or provide a debrief to the entry control officer. At this time, a member of Red Team 3 talks briefly to the group manager in the lobby of the 9th floor and then returns to his number 2, pulsing with the charge jet into the flat entrance of 72. On their return to the flat, Red Team 3 report that they heard a loud bang and fire conditions increased rapidly. The group manager, trying to assess the situation, is now on the 11th floor. Back at the bridgehead, one of the firefighters states that Red Team 1 are in a blackened state and that one of the firefighters in the team is clearly in a distressed state, screaming and shouting about their hands. On their exit, Red Team 1 shouted a warning to the entry control officer about the dangerous conditions within the flat and the cables, but did not raise any concerns over the welfare of Red Team 2. At this time, despite Red Team 1 coming out in a distressed state, and with the knowledge that Red Team 3 are battling a fire in the flat, neither the entry control officer, the original sector commander, crew manager, or the group manager have questioned Red Team 1 about the whereabouts of Red Team 2, firefighters Bannon and Shears, and the entry control officer did not debrief either member of Red Team 1. In their statement, the entry control officer said it wasn't their job to debrief crews, and this is in fact incorrect and contrary to the guidance contained within the service's current procedures. At 20:48, the group manager returns to the bridgehead and sees the firefighters from Red Team 1 with their hands in bowls of water and asks if they're okay. At this point, the entry control officer, aware of the condition of Red Team 1, tries to raise Red Team 2 on the radio. Red Team 4 now enter the flat with a second short line of hose and exchange it with the long line from Red Team 3. At 20:49, the entry control officer states that she repeatedly informed the group manager that she had lost contact with Red Team 2. The group manager instructs her to keep trying to contact them. At this time, Red Team 4 progress up the stairs towards the bathroom level, but encounter excessive heat with air rushing past them. They send a message to the entry control officer that conditions are too hot to progress past the top stair due to excessive heat. Red Team 4 abort their attempt to locate Red Team 2 and exit the flat from the front door, taking with them the jet. At this moment in the incident, the entry control officer had 2 separate teams, Red Teams 3 and 4, radio back that conditions were too hot to progress. Another team, Red Team 1, had withdrawn with blackened, distressed and injured, and communications of Red Team 2 had been lost. However, despite all of these developments, a BA emergency was still not declared. At 20:49, the Chief Fire Officer contacts Fire Control requesting further information. He requests the informative message, who the incident commander is, and what resources are en route. Unfortunately, Fire Control are not able to collate the above information. This is because at 20:50, the first informative message is sent from Group Manager, 72 Shirley Towers, Southampton. Fire in flat, spread over 3 floors. Fire currently on the 9th floor, flat well alight. Evacuation of tenants in surrounding flats in progress. 10 BA and 2 45mm hose are in use. Oscar mode. This is the first informative message sent from the fireground and was after many prompts and requests from Fire Control. At 20:50, Red Team 1 are at the entry control point, and they see a BA team comprising of 2 firefighters descending the stairs from above, subsequently confirmed as Red Team 4. In a subsequent statement, a firefighter from Red Team 1 said that they assumed it was Red Team 2, firefighters Bannon and Shears, safely leaving the incident. This was Red Team 4 returning to the 7th floor bridgehead, where they requested permission from the bridgehead commander to gain entry from the 11th floor to fight the fire and ventilate. The request to enter from the 11th floor is refused by the group manager, as he didn't want the emergency exit to flat 72 opened, as it would compromise the 11th floor. At 20:51, Red Team 3 overhears a radio message from the entry control officer, which sounded like all the other teams are out. Red Team 3 seek confirmation from the entry control officer and stated that they received a positive response. Believing all the firefighters are out of the flat, he decides to increase the length of the pulse spray. At 20:52, Red Team 4 returned to Flat 72's front entrance with instructions to fight the fire and locate Red Team 2, firefighters Bannon and Shears. At this point, Red Team 3 withdraw from the flat with their low pressure warning whistle operating. At 20:52, the ADSU from firefighter Shears in Red Team 2 is operated manually. At this point, his cylinder pressure was recorded at 74 bar, but it's not possible to state with certainty who, out of firefighters Bannon and Shears, operated the ADSU. At 20:54, the bridgehead commander tasked the engine control officer to redeploy Red Team 3 and Red Team 4 to establish communications with and rescue Red Team 2. 1 minute later, Red Team 3 returned to the engine control officer on the 7th floor and shut down their BA sets. Red Team 3 informed the crew manager and the bridgehead commander that there's a fire in the living room and that they've handed it over to Red Team 4. 1 minute later, the crew manager observes the bridgehead commander, who is a group manager, marshalling BA teams for PPV operation, and is told by the engine control officer that she still cannot contact Red Team 2 on the radio, and that they're only 5 minutes from their time of whistle. The crew manager then relays this to the bridgehead commander and instructs the engine control officer to keep trying to contact Red Team 2. At 20:59, the engine control officer continues to inform the sector commander that she cannot raise Red Team 2, and that they are just a few minutes away from their time of whistle. He again instructs her to keep trying to get hold of them. 1 minute later, firefighter Bannon from Red Team 2's BA cylinder contents expires. At 2100, the ADSU from firefighter Bannon in Red Team 2 now operates automatically. Red Team 5, having now been established on the bridgehead, are committed to the incident through the engine control officer. Although a BA emergency had still not been declared at this point, they are committed as an emergency team, but this was not clearly communicated to them. Red Team 5 request information on the search pattern adopted by Red Team 2 several times, but no information is forthcoming. The only location detailed on the engine control board is Flat 72. Red Team 5 decide to tell the engine control officer that they're going in on a right-hand search. Due to them receiving an incomplete brief at the engine control point, Red Team 5 had initial difficulty in finding their way into Flat 72. Red Team 5 overhear the engine control officer telling the group manager bridgehead commander that there's no spaces left on the board, so that they're going to put them in as an emergency team space. At the same time, the engine control officer now asks the bridgehead commander, who's a group manager, whether they should initiate Stage 2 engine control. He responds that they have less than 10 wearers and they should remain at Stage 1. Despite the fact that one of these teams is now operating as an emergency team, the bridgehead commander instructs one of the crew managers to take a radio to the flat entrance on the 9th floor and establish some communications with the teams working inside. Back at the bridgehead commander overhears a message that an ADSU has been heard in Flat 72. Finally, he instigates a BA emergency and instructs the engine control operative to commit 2 emergency teams. He then informs the incident commander that a BA emergency is in progress. Whilst the sounding of an ADSU was the catalyst for the BA emergency being initiated, there were however other earlier developments that should have instigated a BA emergency. For example, communications had failed with Red Team 1 since 2034. Secondly, Red Team 1 had withdrawn from the flat, distressed, blackened, and with burnt hands. Finally, Red Team 2 hadn't withdrawn by their time of whistle, which was 2101. All 3 of these developments should have instigated a BA emergency. Red Team 5 attempt to climb the stairs from the lounge towards the sound of the ADSU. They call out to try and find the missing team before being beaten back by extreme temperatures. They withdraw to the corridor and then make 2 further attempts. However, on each occasion they are beaten back and have to withdraw. Back in the corridor, they tell a crew manager that they can hear an ADSU operating. They ask him to request an entry from the 11th floor because conditions prevent their progress from the 9th floor access. Now returning to the bridgehead, Red Teams 7 and 8 are tasked by bridgehead commander to enter Flat 72 via the 11th floor fire escape and search for Red Team 2. Red Teams 7 and 8 don their BA masks and go under air. The BA engine control officer has insufficient space on the board, so requests that the names of Red Teams 7 and 8 are written on the wall adjacent to the engine control point. The entry time is marked on the wall as 2110. But does not match the time recorded on the BA data record. Note, the BA entry control officer must ensure that he or she has sufficient BA entry boards for the number of personnel that are being committed. The incident commander or the bridgehead commander should have instigated BA Stage 2 control. Whilst the entry control officer showed initiative in the circumstances by recording the additional BA crews on the adjacent wall, the entries on the wall were incorrect, with a member of the team, a crew manager's name appearing twice, and one of the firefighters being missed altogether. There was also a great deal of doubt over the accuracy of the times recorded at the entry. Having gone through some form of pre-entry, Red Team 8 now proceed to the 11th floor with the breaking in equipment to locate the fire escape door, and they're followed up by Red Team 7. Back in the flat, Red Team 5 attempts to ascend the stairs to the lounge. They reach a door on the bathroom landing and push it open. They notice falling cables and shout to Red Team 2. They are again forced back and withdraw due to excessive heat. At 21:14, Red Team 6 pull back Red Team 5, who continue to attempt to gain further entry into the flat. After making those several previous attempts to ascend the stairs for the missing team, Red Team 5 were exhausted, and Red Team 6 were correct in preventing them from making any further attempts. At 21:14, Red Teams 7 and 8 enter the 11th floor corridor and notice extreme heat and heavy smoke logging. They reach the second door on the right of the 11th floor and force entry. They note displaced cables, and one of the firefighters has to be assisted immediately after becoming entangled. Note, these two teams had actually entered the wrong flat. This was not flat 72, and the actions of the firefighters compromised the fire resistance of the flat unnecessarily. Due to a series of confusions, they'd gone into the wrong flat, and the implications of breaking into the wrong flat meant they had jeopardized the potential for fire and smoke spread. Back at flat 72, Red Teams 5 and 6 now exit and meet a crew manager in the corridor. They tell him they can hear the ADSU operating. The crew manager checks their gauges and instructs Red Team 5 to return to the entry control officer. Red Team 6 continue to fight the fire. At 21:16, Red Team 4, who were wearing BA sets, but had not yet started up or under air, on hearing the request for assistance, immediately respond to the 9th floor where they meet the crew manager outside flat 72. They were then tasked with hose management. Note, Red Team 4 acted on their own initiative and without permission or direction from the entry control officer or the bridgehead commander. Red Team 6, still inside, make repeated efforts to ascend the stairs towards the sound of the ADSU. Whilst doing so, one of the firefighters gets their cylinder valve entangled in falling cables and is assisted by number 2 to remove them. Red Teams 7 and 8, having realised they were in the wrong flat, move to the next door and force entry. At 21:26, Red Team 6's low pressure warning whistle is now operating, and they withdraw from the flat. As the incident continued, numerous emergency BA teams attempted to locate and rescue Red Team 2 from flat 72, but were continuously beaten back by excessive heat and fallen hanging cables, which further hampered their efforts. Finally, at 21:34, Red Team 9, using a thermal imaging camera, located a firefighter in the entrance of bedroom 2. This is now known to have been firefighter Bannon. When he was located, there were cables around the base of his BA cylinder, under the bottom of his helmet, at the rear, and another possibly around his left bicep. They tried to pull him free of the cables, but they went taut and prevented any movement. They rolled firefighter Bannon over onto his front so they could grab hold of the BA set and drag him free. In a subsequent statement, they report that during this operation, they were aware that the ADSU was operating, but that firefighter Bannon did not have a low pressure warning whistle sounding. Red Team 9 then report via the radio they've located a member of Red Team 1 and shout for assistance. Note, this was of course an error, as both members of Red Team 1 had left Shirley Towers at this time. The casualty located was in fact firefighter Bannon, a member of Red Team 2. At 21:37, Red Team 9 returned to the landing adjacent to the bedroom and locate a second casualty in the entrance to bedroom 1. This casualty was subsequently confirmed to be firefighter Shears of Red Team 2. They state again that there was a great deal of cabling that had entrapped firefighter Shears. There was one cable between the BA cylinder and the back plate, and one draped over the cylinder itself. Once again, they could hear firefighter Shears' ADSU operating, but was not aware of any low pressure warning whistle. Red Team 10 passed the first casualty firefighter Bannon to Red Team 11, and then returned to assist Red Team 9, who have located firefighter Shears. At 22:19, the incident commander is informed by station commander that immediate medical care and resuscitation was carried out by paramedics and a doctor. The first casualty, firefighter Shears, was removed from the scene at approximately 21:55, and the second casualty, firefighter Bannon, was declared deceased by the doctor at 22:10.
This was an enormously tragic and difficult incident, both for individuals, personally, professionally, and for the organisation as a whole. And one of the things I think one has to do is remember that these incidents have in them the seeds of learning that we need to take away in order to make sure that we can best protect our staff and indeed firefighters from across the UK in the future.
Next, we're going to go through some of the fire service operations around what happened at Shirley Towers. The main elements of the standard incident command structure framework are a clearly defined and visible chain of command, management of the span of control of key commanders, appropriately shared responsibility and authority with a clear definition and understanding of roles and responsibilities, and a consistent and predictable pattern of sectorization. At the time of the Shirley Towers fire, this incident command structure should have been followed and was detailed within the service order and policy directive, which was also fully aligned with national guidance at the time. As with all fatal incidents, a coroner's inquest was carried out. The inquest closed on the 10th of July 2012, with the jury returning a verdict of death by misadventure with the following narrative. Firefighters Alan Bannon and James Shears died from sudden exposure to initially intense heat from 2038 to 2041, and thereafter to excessive heat while dealing with a fire in a flat on the 9th floor of the high-rise tower block Shirley Towers. Obvious precautions to prevent the fire from occurring were not taken. In addition, operational considerations for all firefighters involved became extremely difficult and dangerous, and this significantly contributed to the death of the firefighters. Numerous factors have been identified as being relevant in the chain of causation, which could have affected the eventual outcome, and where appropriate, will form the basis of recommendations to improve safety in the future. To close, we are going to cover off the significant conclusions that came from this report. During the Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service investigation, a number of issues were identified that contributed to the events leading to the deaths of firefighters Bannon and Shears. The impact of these issues ranged from minor to significant. Those issues viewed by the service as significant are as follows. Conclusion 1. Failure to gather and include vital information in mobilising message. Some important information received from the first 999 caller, providing details of the fire location, was not passed to the responding resources. This omission led to the incident commander assuming that flat 72 was on the 7th floor and planning to set up the bridgehead on the 5th instead of the 7th floor. The bridgehead was set up correctly on the 7th floor, but throughout the incident most personnel were confused about the actual floor they were on. Conclusion 2. Failure to locate and extinguish the fire before moving above it. The first BA crew that entered flat 72 did not locate the fire in the lounge or extinguish it before ascending the stairs to the upper floors. Despite carrying a thermal imaging camera, they chose not to use it. The second BA crew did not report locating the fire and ascended the stairs following the hose line of the first BA crew. As a result, both crews, including the second crew, who were not carrying any firefighting media, were then exposed to intense heat from a developing fire below them. Conclusion 3. Unauthorised ventilation of flat 72. The first BA crew opened windows in the bedrooms above the lounge to aid ventilation. This act would have allowed the passage of heated air to flow upwards and past the second crew, and then exhaust out of the open window. Conclusion 4. Declaration of a BA emergency. Following a loss of communication with Red Team 2, Red Team 1 arrived back at the BA engine control in a distressed state at approximately 2046. These factors should have prompted the initiation of a BA emergency. Communications with Red Team 2 could not be re-established, and subsequent teams indicated a developing fire. Red Team 2's time of whistle was noted as 2101. Red Team 5 reported by radio hearing an automatic distress signal unit at 2108, at which time a BA emergency was instigated. The delay in instigating the BA emergency meant that the cylinder contents of firefighter Shears would have expired 3 minutes later and almost certainly before assistance could have been rendered. Conclusion 5. Fire-resistant cable supports. Surface-mounted electrical cabling was encased in plastic chunking which failed when exposed to heat, so releasing the cables. These cables then became a hazard to firefighters. Firefighters Bannon and Shears were both entangled in cables when located. Conclusion 6. Protocol when cables fall or are likely to fall. BA crews encountering falling cables had no means of self-extrication, for example insulated cutters, which are carried by many firefighters today as part of additional equipment on a BA set. Cables fell between the cylinders and the BA set backplate, making it extremely difficult to remove without assistance. Since the incident, Hertfordshire Fire and Rescue Service has incorporated a strap on the cylinder cover to reduce the risk of cable becoming entrapped between the cylinder and the backplate. As mentioned previously, insulated cutters have also been issued to every BA set in this service and is now the case in most services across the UK. This report concludes that after extensive inquiries by Hampshire Constabulary, including scene examination, reconstruction, analysis samples and CCTV recordings, the most probable cause of this fatal fire was the accidental ignition of curtain material located on top of an energised uplighter light fitting within the lounge of number 72 Shirley Towers. The rapid development of the fire was due to the change in ventilation conditions within number 72 Shirley Towers after the opening of the windows within the bedrooms.
The lack of sufficient extinguishing media being applied due to the pulse spray techniques allowed the fire to develop and hampered rescue attempts. This brings us to the end of the incident debrief for Shirley Towers on the 6th of April 2010. Thanks again go to the hard work of Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service and supporting agencies. It is our sincere hope that the lessons taken and information provided in today's incident debrief, including the subsequent recommendations and improvement in service policies and procedures, will ensure the safety of frontline operators through greater training and awareness as we continue to face the challenging and complex incidents as members of the UK Fire and Rescue Service. Thanks for coming back to the Firefighters podcast. See you next time. The Firefighters podcast was created to recognize, acknowledge, inspire, and hopefully even motivate these incredible individuals who have chosen to be part of the first responder community. Our driving purpose is to create a legacy resource for the current and future generations of firefighters and first responders. We get some incredible feedback from listeners and guests, and as the podcast grows, our desire to create longevity and sustainability means we are asking for the support of our listeners. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to get discounts to our merchandise, hoodies, clothing, coins, patches, tallies, and also access to all of the incredible documents that get shared with us from our podcast guests and sector leaders, then please head over to our Patreon page, and for just £3 a month, you can support the future of the podcast. Please finally hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on the platform you're listening, and wherever you're in the world, please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.